Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, December 21st, all the way through to Sunday, December 27th of 2020. And this week, I'm sure a lot of you already know what's coming. We are moving into the Great Conjunction, also known as the Grand Conjunction, between Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Aquarius at 0 degrees. This is a major cosmic reset in all of our lives that will be impacting us for at least the next 20 years on an individual level. In addition to this great conjunction begins a 200-year phase within an 800-year cycle of the great conjunctions, and this is the first time in roughly 800 years that we've had Jupiter and Saturn together by degree and declination, which means that they will appear together in the sky almost as if they were like one star together. And so this is huge. This is a big energy on a global scale, on a societal level, and on an individual level. And so before we get into all that, I just want to mention for those who are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss an astrology update. I post a new weekly forecast every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the way that I structure my forecasts is that I start with a general forecast, roughly 5 to 10 minutes. This one might be a little bit longer, but don't skip this because this is going to provide an important context for the energy that we're going to be getting into in your more personal reading for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when I get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign, because each of these will give different information and a more holistic overview of the energy you'll be experiencing in the week ahead. The rising sign will be the most predominant energy, the sun sign will be secondary, and the moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this information will be more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a short overview of the energy that I'll be covering in next week's forecast so you can get ahead of the game and plan for the future a little bit more effectively. So if you're interested in learning what's coming up next week, make sure you stick around until the end of this video. So moving on from that, back to the Great Conjunction. So this forecast is a special one. It's not a forecast that's going to be just for this week, as I mentioned before. I'm going to be discussing a huge energy that's going to be very prominent throughout the entire year in 2021. This is also an energy, like I mentioned before, that's kicking off at least a 20-year phase or a 20-year cycle in our lives with these great conjunctions. And my sense about this is, on an individual level, even though this is a 200-year cycle and none of us are likely to live for 200 years, this is something that's going to impact us. Whatever it is that's coming up in our lives this week, whatever it is that we're initiating, whatever reset we're going through, is something that will impact all of us for generations to come. And that means if you're somebody who's planning to have children, the effects of this energy, the effects of what it is that you do with this energy, will impact not only you, but your children, your children's children, your children's children's children, because this is also the beginning or kind of like the start of an 800-year cycle, in the sense that the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction will not return to this phase in the air signs for roughly 800 years, right? And so we're looking at like bigger cycles and bigger impacts, and that's very fitting for where this conjunction is occurring, right? We're looking at not just an individual reset, but we're looking at how the things that we are setting in motion right now, the new structures, the new paradigms, the new foundations that we're creating for ourselves, how these things are impacting not only us, but in Aquarius, how these things are impacting all of humanity, the greater good, right? What's best for us is what's best for all concerned. That's really what this is about, because we're having this happen, this great conjunction, in the humanitarian, very socially oriented sign of Aquarius. And so this is a big moment in time, a huge moment in time, one of the biggest energies we're going to be experiencing in our lifetime, as if we haven't had enough like big energies this year. A lot of the stuff that we've been experiencing is, once in a lifetime, but this is definitely once in a lifetime. Unless you're planning to live for 800 years, you'll never experience something of this magnitude astrologically again in your lifetime, right? So this is important. And so on an individual level, this energy of the Great Conjunction is going to be setting us off on a new trajectory in a specific area of our charts and lives. And this is going to launch us into something brand new. We're going to be looking to the past in order to inform what we're going to be building and creating and looking forward to into the future. The combination energy of Saturn and Jupiter is also a very intellectual energy, especially in the sign of Aquarius. And so Jupiter likes to kind of expand through higher knowledge, learning new wisdom, attaining a greater understanding of things more holistically. Saturn is a teacher in terms of like life lessons and hard lessons. And so that's a part of it as well. But in the sign of Aquarius, it's about doing your own research and coming to your own conclusions. It's about fact-based decisions, not necessarily fact-based like I heard this person who I think is an authority figure say this thing, so I'm going to regurgitate it. Not that. We've had a lot of that. We've had enough of that. This is about each of us on an individual level coming to our own conclusions about what's best for us, what's best for all of humanity in terms of the way that we are engaging with the world, and what's best for future generations to come. Like, this is a huge energy like that, and this is something that we have to decide for ourselves. We have to figure out on an individual level that Aquarius energy is not an energy that like listens to other people's opinions and just goes off of that. Although Aquarius, kind of one of the traps can be wanting to fit in, right? So Aquarius, yes, there's this unique energy on the one hand, but they want to be accepted by society. They want to be a part of a group. And so there can be some compromise there. With the Jupiter in the mix, though, I think that this is going to be more about us standing in our integrity and standing in what we know to be true based on facts, based on our own personal individual research, based on our own personal experiences and life experience with that Saturn energy, and moving forward from that place, right? And so that's a little bit different. And the Aquarian way, as I have noticed, is, people who have strong Aquarius energy, they seem to be very open-minded and very flexible, and they think about things in very strange and unique ways, sometimes to the extent where like, I don't understand how you got to that conclusion, but yeah, okay, we'll roll with it. Because the way that they view the world is very different from the way that other people view the world. They come to conclusions in a different way and in their own way. And once Aquarian types of people have made their decision, they've come to their conclusion, as sort of off the beaten track as it might seem, they tend to adhere very rigidly to their thoughts, their ideas, their beliefs, the information that they have gathered through their own knowledge, through their own research, through their own experience. And that's where the fixed energy of Aquarius comes into play. Aquarius is an air sign, which is about thoughts and ideas and communication. And it's a fixed sign, which is about things that are stable and long-lasting, and rarely do they change. And so putting those two energies together in their most basic form, you have somebody who gathers information, learns something, has a certain mindset about something, and is very unlikely to want to change that. So whatever mindset you're creating right now, whatever facts you're gathering about the thing that you want to create, that's something that you're probably going to be adhering to rather rigidly for many, many years to come. However, this is also going to be a process this year of you letting go of rigid adherence to societal norms and societal standards, rigid adherence to dogmatic beliefs based on your past research, past experience that maybe are no longer relevant in the present moment. So it's about shedding the old, shifting your paradigm, and adapting and adopting, adapting to the current circumstances and adopting something brand new when it comes to the way that you frame what it is that you're moving into here. So there's a lot going on there. And in addition to this, this is actually going to be in square with Uranus. So the Great Conjunction will be square Uranus. And this square to Uranus is actually going to become more predominant in January and into February. And it's going to be present all year long. And it's going to be a part of this reset energy. It's going to be a part of this Great Conjunction. And so yes, we're going to be wanting to launch into something new, but we're going to have to understand that we're going to be met with some certain challenges, right? We first off have Jupiter. Jupiter says yes to things. Jupiter opens things up. Jupiter is expansive. It's all about opportunity and idealism, especially in the sign of Aquarius. And, looking at all of the available opportunities. Saturn's about looking at what's realistic, and Saturn can say no to things based on the fact that in a practical sense it doesn't work, or it won't work, or it's not realistic, right? And so you already have that conflict there, where it's like looking at what is possible versus what is probable in this area of our lives. That's going to be a big struggle, or a big kind of conflict area for a lot of people this year, where we might want to dream big, but the reality of the situation is we have to start small. That being said, with the energy of Saturn in square, and Jupiter and Saturn in square with Uranus, there will be some curveballs thrown at us as well. And those curveballs will create a lot of challenge with that Saturnian energy, especially because the big player is going to be the Saturn-Uranus square. Jupiter will move on from this square after January. Jupiter-Uranus is going to make us want to rebel against all of our current circumstances that feel rigid, that feel pressured, that feel too structured in our lives. And we might want to just, especially because Mars is going to be there too, that's a whole big thing. I talked about this in my recent video for the Cosmic Community, where we got together for the eclipse energy to set our intentions and to talk about the lunar month ahead, where, heading into the start of January, there's going to be this really impulsive energy where we want to just jump the gun and launch into something because we feel so frustrated with our current circumstances, with the current limitations and restrictions being imposed on us from the outside. And obviously, there's a theme there with that, given what's happened in 2021, that might be really prevalent. And if we do that, and if we push back too hard, too fast, or if we jump into something new and throw out all of our past lessons and responsibilities, that's something that's going to cause reverberations and repercussions throughout the entire year in 2021 that we're going to have to very slowly work on recovering from. So I don't recommend going that route. But with Saturn and Uranus, you're going to be feeling this frustration. It's like, I want to change something, but it's happening so slowly that it's like, I just want to, like, like I can't stand this anymore. But if we look at making small and steady changes and breaking free from anything that's inhibiting our independence in the areas of life being affected, and making those small measured steps every single day to reach our long-term goals and plans in those areas, then absolutely you can accomplish a lot. It's going to be like, by the end of 2021, you're going to feel as if you have like really conquered a lot. It's going to, in the process, it's going to feel like you're not making as much progress as you would want to. And that's going to be frustrating. And everybody's going to feel this in one way or another. But in the end, when you look back on this year, you're going to be like, holy crap. Like, I didn't feel like I was accomplishing so much, but look at where I was in January, or in December really, of 2020. And look at where I'm at now, right? 1 year later, where am I at? And holy crap, I've like really done so many changes. I've really accomplished a lot. I'm much more free, much more sovereign, because I took my time and created the right foundation for that sovereignty, for that independence, for that freedom that I'm really seeking out. So that's a big part of the energy too. So just keep in mind that the Great Conjunction, just like any transit that happens, the more concentrated peak of the energy is going to be within a couple of months before and after that conjunction. But that doesn't mean that that's when it all happens. This is an energy, again, that is impacting us for the entire year, for the next 20 years, for the next 200 years in a lot of ways, and for the next 800 years. And so that's going to be a big part of the energy. And I'm not going to get as in depth in terms of the societal implications of this. I've spoken about this quite a lot in many of my webinars and videos this year. Most recently, again, when I did the new moon gathering for the Cosmic Community, we did talk pretty in depth about the Great Conjunction when we were setting our intentions and all of that, which, by the way, that was so fun. I highly recommend that you join, even if it's just for the monthly new moon gatherings. This is something I've been wanting to do for so long. And that was like a very fun, very powerful experience to connect with the group and to set our intentions together and to learn about which intentions might be right, which ones might be a little off kilter, how to focus our energy, how to enhance our intentions using different energies and objects and colors. And a lot of the group members had really great ideas that I think I'm going to elaborate on next time, like doing like a new moon water and creating that, as a way to sort of solidify the intentions energetically. But in either case, yeah, so you can join my cosmic community down in the description below. That's a really fun place to gather and learn from each other and, create community. And that's kind of what this energy is about too. When we're talking about the Great Conjunction, it's about humanity coming together for a common cause. And hopefully, although I think there will be some craziness and divisiveness at the start of the year, hopefully this is going to be us realizing that we need to come together even despite our different belief systems, and we need to stop adhering so rigidly to what we believe is the truth, because there are a lot of different truths out there and there's a lot of different information, especially on the scientific front, that is conflicting. And that's also a thing with Aquarius. Aquarius rules science and the scientific community, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out, especially at the start of the year. I think there'll be some conflict there, but hopefully we can realize that the way to overcome our current situation is to look at what's best for everyone, as well as, really paying attention to the fact that we all want to, and we all desire to, and we all need to maintain our individual liberty and freedom and sovereignty, because that's a big Uranus thing. So I think there will be a lot of social movements coming up this year. I do think that there will be more rebellious energy, but that energy is going to be receiving a lot of pushback from the powers that be, from that Saturnian energy. And so, yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting year. And this is really what's setting it all in motion this week right now. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Oh, and I wanted to mention before I do that, actually there's a video that I did with Ksenia Moore where we talk about more of the social and global implications of this great conjunction. And so part 1 of that talk is available on my YouTube channel. So I'll post a link down in the description below, or actually I'll post the video at the end of this video. And also we did a part 2 where we talk more in depth about the general personal implications. We went into that for about like 30-40 minutes in detail, and that's available for all of my cosmic community members as an exclusive offering, a little bonus gift for you all. And again, the cosmic community membership can be found down in the description below. And I do have just one quick announcement before we get into the all signs forecast, and that is that my winter electional astrology guide is now available, still available. So a lot of you are working on setting your intentions for the year ahead. And I recommend, by the way, that you set your intentions at the time of the solstice. That's something that I wanted to talk about earlier in the video that I put in my notes and didn't look at. So the winter solstice is the actual sort of power point. It's the actual cosmic alignment in which we should be setting our intentions for the year ahead. In fact, the reason people set their intentions at the new year is actually due to solstice traditions from a lot of different backgrounds where people would do that. It's basically the new moon of the solar cycle where you're going through this reset. So we're going through a solar reset, a yearly reset right now, and this big cosmic reset for at least 20, 200, 800 years with the Great Conjunction at the same time on the same day. So this is an extra powerful time for you to set your intentions, your goals for the year ahead. And the thing about this is that people set their intentions at the new year instead of the winter solstice, which is where the actual cosmic alignment is, where we should be reflecting on the years past and what we've done right and what we maybe need to adjust or fix or change in the future, and also setting those goals and intentions for the year ahead. That should be happening within a couple of days of the solstice. But most people are setting their intentions for the year ahead as New Year's resolutions on the new year in the Gregorian calendar. Don't even get me started on the Gregorian calendar. And my theory, and let me know if you agree with this down in the comment section below, or if you have experience with this, but my theory is that the reason people never stick with their New Year's resolutions, that's just kind of like a big running joke for society, is because you're setting your intentions on the wrong day. Set your intentions on the solstice. I've been doing this for years now, and I've never not accomplished all, if not most, of the intentions that I've set for myself for the year ahead, to the point where it's like scary accurate. Like we draw vision boards and these things, like the actual pictures, which are poorly drawn, but we'll draw these pictures and they'll show up in ways that we never thought that they would when we go back and reflect on it the next year. So highly recommend using the winter solstice for that energy. And if you want to really plan out when you start the actual things that you're planning and your intentions for the year ahead, in alignment with the astrological energies, so you can enhance your potential for success, my winter electional astrology guide is still available down in the description below for December, January, and February, so you can launch your businesses, projects, events, ideas the right way in order to enhance your potential for success. I've been getting great feedback from people who have been using this guide very successfully, and these are the techniques I use in my own life. These are the techniques I use with all of my clients, and you're just having it laid out for you in a calendar, in a video, in a written guide, so you have all the information that you need to make the right decision for yourself. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and with Aries rising. Okay, so for Aries, this great conjunction is happening in your 11th house. So this is actually a really nice placement for this energy. This is a cosmic reset when it comes to the way that you interact with groups of people, with humanity as a whole. This could be a brand new beginning when it comes to your social circle and the way that you connect with people. This is a really important time to set intentions for creating a solid foundation to have the right connections with the right people in the right way, and also to set intentions for social connections that further your goals and plans when it comes to your finances, because that can be a point of change or an energy that's going to be really prominent with this great conjunction as well. But basically, this is going to be a cosmic reset, a brand new beginning that's going to last at least 20 years for you when it comes to group interactions, when it comes to being a part of a community or being a part of a group of people. This is going to be a 20-year cycle that you're beginning, or a reset that you're beginning in the area of all relationships, because this will also be trining your descendant if you're an Aries sun, moon, or rising, especially if your sun, moon, or rising is within the first 5 degrees in the sign of Aries. This is going to be, trining the descendant for Aries rising people. This is going to be a brand new beginning, potentially even a brand new relationship, a very important, very prominent relationship that comes in for you sometime in the next few months as a result of this energy, if it hasn't already shown up right now, because this is an energy that, again, you'll feel it at its peak a couple months before and a couple months after. But this could be, where you find love. This could be where you reassess or reevaluate your current relationships and you reinforce them in some way. You create a better, more solid foundation. You create a foundation to do really big, important things together in the future. This could even be like a work relationship or a business partnership that's forming that's going to impact you in a positive way for at least the next 20 years with the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. Where you might find some hangups here could be in terms of your finances. There's an energy here where there's a conflict between your physical, material comfort and stability and your ability to connect with the group or network with the right people. It could even be that you think that you're going to do some networking for work or for business, and at first it sets you off on a good trajectory and you feel like things are moving forward in a very positive way, but then you realize that this is maybe not financially viable, or maybe you don't have the money to contribute to a group endeavor or a group enterprise in some way. And so those types of things can come up, and those can kind of, those energies, especially at the start of the year, can rattle your relationships a little bit and cause some disharmony. If that's the case, don't worry. These things will be overcome. It's going to take some time for sure, but you will get there throughout the year this year. This is also where you're going to be feeling really frustrated with your current social circle. And so it might be that your friends don't get you anymore. They're not they don't have the same understanding of the world or worldview. They don't have the same goals. They don't have the same aspirations, right? And so if that's the case, you might decide that you want to, seek out new friendships. You want to break yourself free from that old social group. This is an energy where you might want to rebel against other people's ideas, beliefs, or mindset around things. Just make sure that you don't burn all of your bridges all at once at the start of this year, but that's something that might be part of this reset as well, looking at the connections that you have and whether or not they're in alignment with your integrity and with the information that you have right now, and whether or not these are people that you really want to spend time with. Are these really solid, long-lasting friendships? Are these people that have your back, or are these people that are just there for, fun? Like, are these just like bar buddies or something like that? So definitely a big moment socially for Aries. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy is happening actually in your 10th house of career and public reputation. This is a brand new beginning, a cosmic reset for you in the area of what it is that you do out in the world. This could be a major change coming to your career path in general, where you're setting off on a new trajectory, where you're starting to put the work in with Saturn this year to create a foundation to have greater freedom and mobility and flexibility when it comes to the work that you're doing out in the world. This could also be for those of you who are not working, because people sometimes remind me of that not everyone has a career, not everyone is still working or it can work. This could literally be you having some sort of brand new beginning or reset when it comes to your relationship with people who are in positions of power and authority in your life. This could be you taking on a new type of leadership role, even if it's not career oriented. It could still be you stepping into this place of becoming a leader in your own right, in your own way. This could have to do with you changing or shifting or resetting your legacy that you're leaving behind after this lifetime. That could be a big part of this too. But in general, this is about what you're putting out there into the world at large for public consumption. This is also going to be a time where you're feeling very frustrated in all areas of life because of that Uranus energy. And part of that for a lot of you is going to have to do with your career and the feeling of constraint or restriction as a result of the work that you're doing. This is the time to start thinking about making small, gradual changes throughout the year to increase your freedom, to increase your sovereignty, to rebel against your current circumstances in measured ways, where you're not being completely irresponsible about it, where you're not just throwing out everything that you've created and everything that you've built, but you're looking at that as maybe a foundation, and you're looking at what maybe is not a good foundation in that area that you need to start working on letting go of. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is happening in your ninth house. This is a nice one for Gemini. All of the air signs are going to like this, maybe Aquarius a little less, but Gemini and Libra are going to have a good time with this energy. So this is happening in your ninth house, which is the house of higher education and higher wisdom. It's the house of your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you that frame your reality in this lifetime. And this is a time where your beliefs are going to be tested, where you're going to have to reevaluate your perspective on the world and where that perspective comes from. What are the roots of your ideals, your moral and ethical value systems, and your beliefs? And are those roots, is that core, is that foundation based on facts, or is it based on outdated information? Is it based on rigid dogmatic adherence to certain beliefs? Like, where is this coming from, right? And does this serve you into the future? Is this still serving you now? This is also the time where you might be setting off on a brand new educational pursuit, either with you attaining some new higher education or higher wisdom, where you're learning new facts, where you're learning new skills, and you're doing so in a way that's, open-minded and expansive, but also very practical. Like there's a pragmatic, realistic, or very grounded application to what it is that you're setting off on to learn. This could also be you teaching, or embarking on a journey to teach others, to share and disseminate information to other people in some way. And this could also have to do with you starting on a new path that connects you with other cultures globally, or connects you with the world at large. Or, it could be that this is setting the foundation for future travel, even if that's not available to you or applicable to you right now. This again is a 20-year cycle, so you're setting those foundations there. It could be that you're feeling really frustrated with your current mindset around things. Maybe you've been feeling too pessimistic, and this is going to cause you to kind of break out of that. It could be that you're feeling frustrated with an educational pursuit this year. Maybe you're launching into something, and with a lot of people, this could be the case given what's going on a global scale, but it could be that you're moving forward and then you have to stop and then you have to reevaluate and then you have to change something and then you have to go sideways and forwards and backwards and, really rearrange and pivot along the way in order to get that education that you desire because of all the changes that are going on. And so that's going to be a part of this energy as well. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancers, this energy is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of death, rebirth, transformation, fear, power and control issues, old psychological patterns and paradigms. And this is a time where you're going through a cosmic reset when it comes to those areas and those themes. This is a time for you to embark on a journey of deep healing and deep introspection that's going to benefit you and last for you for the next at least 20 years. It's going to set you on a different trajectory. This is an important time if you are somebody who's dealing with a lot of psychological and emotional baggage to seek out the help that you need to enter a structured program of learning and exploration in order for you to get to the bottom of what it is that you're experiencing so you can work on letting go of it once and for all. You might find that your friendships and your group associations can be quite triggering to you this year, or they could be quite frustrating to you this year. And you might want to work on changing the way that you engage with groups of people or your friends, or changing your friends or your social circle as a whole in general. In order to kind of move in alignment with the healing that you're doing and the person that you're transforming into. This is a year where you're going to become more empowered as well. This is a year to start taking control of anything in your life that is taking control over you, right? That's the energy of the 8th house. And so some of those themes could be, psychological and psychic manipulation coming from other people, especially those group associations. But this could also be taking back control of your finances, especially when it comes to joint finances, especially when it comes to things like taxes or uh, insurance payouts, taxes, insurance payouts, inheritance, things of that nature. So, one of the things that you could think about doing, and that a lot of people might be thinking about doing who are Cancer rising in particular, is maybe, getting a living or getting a will, or, getting some sort of life insurance policy to ensure that not just you will be protected, but again, like I mentioned at the start of this video, if you guys didn't watch the beginning part, the general forecast, I highly recommend doing that to get context for what I'm saying here. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is impacting not just you, but future generations. And if you're somebody who's having children, this is going to impact your children and your children's children and your children's children's children and all of that. And so, this is going to set you off on a trajectory that will provide financial freedom, not just for you, but for future generations to come. So you want to take this seriously. If you're in debt, this is a time to really get a plan in order and to start paying off those debts. Although the trajectory this year might be slow and tedious, and you might have some changes and pivots and frustrations financially that you have to deal with, you'll get there this year. And so this is an important time to think about that as well. This could also just bring a cosmic reset involving your partner's resources if you are partnered. And so it could be that there's a change or a shift or a new beginning coming in partnership where your partner's resources change in some way. And even if these changes are slow or scary or frustrating at first, this is actually setting a good foundation for the next 20 years of that financial partnership, or of that partnership in general, or of your partner's resources. Okay. And then for Leo and for Leo rising, this energy is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And so this is the start of a brand new cosmic reset, cosmic cycle that's going to impact you for at least the next 20 years. And it can, again, impact you for generations to come. So if you're somebody who has children, it'll impact your children's relationships, your children's children's relationships, and so on and so forth. But this is an energy where you're starting something brand new in partnership with somebody else. This could be a brand new, fresh start that you need in your current relationships. And so if you are partnered, This could be you restructuring or changing something very dramatically within that partnership. You want more freedom, you want more expansion, you want more excitement, you want to grow together as a couple, and you also want something very solid and long lasting right now. This is a time for you to start setting intentions for mutually beneficial collaborations, agreements, negotiations, and relationships. And if you're not in a relationship, this is a year where you can set things in motion to not just have any old relationship, but to have the right kind of relationship, something that's going to be stable, solid, and long lasting. Commitment is key right now, even though you have your descendant in Aquarius, and that's an energy where you need a certain amount of distance or freedom within your partnership. You don't like to be too emotionally codependent in particular. This is also a year where you want to set off a trajectory for something very stable and long lasting, like a really solid committed partnership that still allows for the amount of freedom that you desire. And you might be feeling very frustrated with this year with constrictions and limitations in your relationships or imposed by your relationships, and especially constrictions and limitations imposed on you by work-related relationships and partnerships. That could be a source of frustration. Your work in general can be a source of frustration in your career path. And it could even be that your partnerships actually help you to move in a new direction with your career, the direction that you need to move into this year and beyond. So a lot of changes, a lot of new beginnings, a lot of energy coming up for you this week around figuring out what it is that you want in partnership and setting intentions for that to kind of grow and become more stable over time. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this energy of the Great Conjunction is happening in your sixth house, which is the house of health. It's the house of service. It's the house of daily routines. It's the house of your daily work routines. So basically, the sixth house is the house that makes up it's the house that rules everything that you do on a day-to-day level to maintain and sustain your physical existence in this reality, right? It's your nutrition, it's your health routines, it's your exercise routines, it's your day-to-day work routines that you have to adhere to in order to create the bigger picture, in order to achieve your bigger goals and plans in this lifetime and your financial goals and plans in this lifetime. It also rules acts of service that you do for other people. It rules things like pets, but for the most part, it's like these day-to-day mundane tasks. And so for the next year especially, you're going to be very, very busy because you're having Saturn and Jupiter transiting Aquarius. And especially in January and February, you're going to be feeling very overwhelmed. A lot on your plate. You might overdo it. You might burn out. So for Virgos in particular, keep it light at the start of the new year. This cosmic conjunction is going to be joined by a whole slew of energy that we'll talk about in January. And you want to make sure that you're not piling too much on your plate right off the bat, because you are likely to burn out and maybe even, do damage to your health as a result of being too stressed out, too frustrated, having too much going on, or doing too much for other people. That's a Virgo thing. And if that's something that's a pattern for you, this might actually be a time where you're looking at creating a better, more long-lasting, more sustainable foundation when it comes to the things that you do every single day to help yourself and to help others, because you're going to need to have very clear-cut boundaries with yourself and with others. Virgos tend to be workaholics. They tend to be perfectionistic. They tend to spend a lot of time on these mundane routine tasks and activities. They want to be of service, right? That's the highest expression of Virgo, is to show up in service for somebody else, but also to maintain appropriate boundaries. That's going to be a big theme here when it comes to your day-to-day life and when it comes to your work too. And it could also be that you're setting something in motion brand new when it comes to new career-related goals and plans. And that could be something that this is really helping you to build this year. If that's the case, it's not going to come all at once. It'll be something that'll come, slowly over time in measured doses. You're going to have to make a lot of changes and adjustments to your mindset, or maybe even take on some new educational pursuits that might come your way and might show up kind of unexpectedly, and that might actually add a lot more pressure or disrupt your daily routines. But just know, if that's the case, this is actually going to benefit you in the long term, especially for the next 20-year cycle of Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, and the Great Conjunction. And this is something that at the end of the year, you're going to look back on and you're going to be like, wow, I'm glad I put in all that work. I didn't feel like I was making progress, but yes, I definitely was. All right. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, So for Libras, this energy is happening in your fifth house. And so lucky Libra. I mentioned last week that Libras are starting to get a shift away from some of the more challenging, harsher energies that have been coming up for you with the Capricorn stellium throughout the entire year. Libras have been hit quite hard. Now you're moving on to something new, something better, something brighter. And that's a really good thing. So congratulations on getting through 2020. I think for Libras in particular, it was probably a lot more frustrating than for some of the other signs. I would say that Cancer and Capricorn and Aries would also be some of those signs that had a frustrating time. But for you, this is actually shifting into a very beneficial placement in your chart. This is where you are going to be setting off on a new journey where you're going to be aligning yourself with your passions, the things that you love to do. You're going to be setting yourself up for success when it comes to experiencing joy on a day-to-day level, when it comes to doing the things that nourish your soul, when it comes to creating something big and powerful out in the world in alignment with what your soul wants to create, with what lights you up internally, with what makes you feel excited. This could be a time for a lot of Libra rising people and Libras in general where you decide that you want to set off or embark on a journey of creating a new business, right? So this could be a year where you decide you're going to start your business. The fifth house is the house of entrepreneurs, and especially like solopreneurs can have a lot of that energy in the fifth house. And so this is something that is aligning you with greater freedom on a personal level, greater excitement and greater joy on a personal level. It's changing the trajectory of your life as a whole in a big, powerful way that's going to impact you for at least the next 20 years. And part of this is about you wanting to gain financial freedom, financial sovereignty, especially when it comes to having your finances tied up with other people and other people's ideals and other people's like money, like where they can hold money over your head. So an example of that is the eighth house, which is what we're talking about here, rules debt. And so when you're in debt, you know, somebody somewhere has some sort of power and control over you by holding that money over your head. This would be a time for you to think about breaking free from that situation. Or if you're, you know, relying on your partner's resources, this is the time to start thinking about becoming more sovereign. You might have some frustrations along the way this year because it's going to be not necessarily a linear process. You're going to have to go forward, backward, up, down, side to side in order to get there. But once you do, it's going to be very, very liberating. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this is one where you're going to be impacted pretty intensely by this energy because the great conjunction is happening in your fourth house, which is your foundation. It's your roots. This is the house that's associated with home, family, and property. This could be a time where you are thinking about changing something, especially in partnership or involving a contract or an agreement or some sort of some sort of contractual agreement involving property or your home, where you're setting off on a new trajectory, where you're setting a foundation for yourself that's going to impact your future for the next 20 years at least in the arena, in the area of home, family relationships, property ownership, and your relationships in general, because this is really heavily impacting your descendant as well. And so your relationships are going to be changing this year very dramatically, but they're changing in a way that's going to create better opportunity and better stability and greater freedom together and on an individual level moving forward. This could be a time where you're feeling very frustrated with your current relationships or your current contracts that you're adhering to, and you're wanting to break free and you're wanting to change something. If that's the case, don't get frustrated and throw it out all at once, especially at the start of this year, because that's something that might take a long time to recover from, and it will cause some complications. However, you are going to need to make those changes, and those changes will come slowly throughout the year when you make deliberate, intentional changes to your relationships and deliberate, intentional changes to your foundation in your home. It could be that you want to purchase a new home, or you want to purchase some land, or you want to invest in some sort of property. If that's the case, this is the greatest time for you to set those intentions and to set things in motion. Just know it won't happen all at once, and it'll probably take at least the entire year for you to get that foundation ready for you to actually move into what you want to move into. But by the end of the year, you're going to be like, like, wow, I'm so grateful that I put in all of this work, because even though it felt frustrating and I had to make a lot of pivots and a lot of changes, I came to this place where I am right now. This could also be you, embarking on something new as a family or with your family, or taking on additional responsibility for a new family member, which that could come in the form of a pregnancy, right? That's that Jupiter Saturn energy. Typically with Saturn, it's a planned pregnancy, and with the Jupiter, it's a very welcomed addition to the family. However, this could be a planned pregnancy, like you've been wanting it, you've been planning it, you've been hoping for it, but it comes about as a surprise or in a surprising way, or it changes things in a surprising way for you. But it will be something welcomed if that's the case for those of you Scorpios, the few Scorpios that this is relevant for, especially female Scorpios, this would be more relevant. But in general, this could also be you taking on the responsibility of caring for like an elderly family member, or a family member who maybe needs a place to live. That could be very literally what you're doing, and it could be frustrating and it could cause friction in the relationship, but in the end, it's going to strengthen the foundation of that relationship moving forward. It doesn't mean that they have to live with you, but you might be taking on greater responsibility as in your role in your family. And that could be something that impacts you for the next 20 years and impacts your family for the next 20 years. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this energy is actually impacting you in a much more positive way. Saturn and Jupiter are conjunct in your third house of communication, marketing, community. This is a time for you to think about starting something new when it comes to a new educational pursuit that will probably be carried forward for at least the next 2.5 years. Like, it's not something that you're going to be able to do all at once, even if you feel like it is right now. You're like, I'm going to get this done like in 6 weeks. And it's probably going to take a couple of years, right, for you to learn the skills that you really need to learn in order to make the changes that you need to make. But this is not about quick fixes. This is not about, instant gratification. This is about delayed gratification and understanding the value of putting in the hard work to create a foundation for what you need for your future goals and plans. This could also be a major reset when it comes to your mindset around something, or when it comes to the way that you engage with your community. This could be you wanting to start a new community-based organization or collaboration, and this is really what sets it in motion. This could be you wanting to write or publish something, or write a new blog, or start a new website, or something that disseminates information in some way. And again, this is something that might not take off right away. You might not have the time or the energy or the willpower to make it take off right away. Or it could just be something that is a little ahead of its time, that might grow more gradually over time over the next 20 years, but it's still worthwhile. It's still valuable. Just know that the things that you're starting now are not necessarily meant to come to full fruition right now. You're looking at the long-term benefits of what it is that you're putting in here in terms of effort. But this is actually a powerful energy for those of you who have been wanting to change something when it comes to your work, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your daily habits and routines. This is going to be somehow tied to new information, new learning, new education, or maybe you branching out to be an educator or to share information in some way. This is also an energy that's going to benefit you when it comes to your relationships, your partnerships. This is where communication and partnership is going to be absolutely key when it comes to business partnerships, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to romantic partnerships and marriage partnerships. This is a time where you're going to want to establish a good foundation for solid communication and a mutual understanding well into the future. And this is a time where your relationships can become much more benefited, so they can become more like happy and more like your relationships can become more lucky, and doing things in partnership with other people can bring you good fortune, especially like into the future, if that makes sense. So pairing up with people is good right now, and this is a time where you might come into a brand new relationship this year, or maybe sometime in the next couple of years, and that relationship, if that is the case, romantic or otherwise, is going to be very solid, very long lasting, and it's going to help provide you both with many opportunities well into the future for at least the next 20 years. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this energy is happening in your second house of money. So this is going to be a big cosmic reset when it comes to your finances. And there might be some sort of friction or some sort of challenge or change that you're hoping to create in the area of children, if you have any, or in the area of, your hobbies, your interests, your passions that you really, really love and want to pursue. But the financial foundation needs to be there first. This could be a time for you to set really solid intentions to benefit you for the next 20-year cycle of this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in the area of money, the way that you create your resources, the way that you spend and save and utilize your resources, what you invest your money in. Whatever it is that you invest in this year, it's gonna get off to a rocky start. However, it's going to grow and sustain you for over the course of the next 20 years. So just know that even if things start out in a way that seems kind of like precarious or frustrating, where you're not getting the results that you want financially through a new work pursuit, a new project, a new creative endeavor, a new business that you might be starting, because that's going to be a thing for a lot of Capricorn rising people. Just because you're not getting the results right away doesn't mean you won't get the results. This is not a year for instant gratification and for quick fixes. This is a year for long-term gains and sustainable types of growth and results. If you're looking for a quick fix, you're going to create a giant mess for yourself. Everyone is. So just make sure that you're thinking about the long-term implications of this. And even when things kind of go sideways this year, which they probably will, you'll have to make adjustments. Know that you're setting yourself off on a really solid path that's going to benefit you for many, many years to come. And that's going to benefit your family potentially for generations to come as well. So that's a part of this energy too. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, oh my goodness, Aquarius, this is all about you. This is happening in your sign, and so I'm sure you're very curious as to what's about to be happening here. Aquarius people are going to be feeling super frustrated with anything and everything that doesn't align with your integrity. So if you're doing something because you've been told that you should do it, if you're doing something because the group says that it's the right thing to do, if you're doing something based on old, outdated information, if you're adhering to any sort of mindset, any sort of trajectory in your life, due to just dogmatic adherence to certain belief systems, certain ideals, certain ideologies, and that's no longer serving you, and that's keeping you imprisoned, if that's keeping you, feeling oppressed or feeling restricted, now's the time for you to break free. You're going to be changing who you are on all levels this year, and this is going to impact your life for many, many, many years to come. This is an important time to set really solid goals and intentions for what you want to create in all areas of life. Whatever you want to do that benefits you based on your own volition, based on your own integrity and intuition and your own beliefs. But this is also, with the understanding that this isn't going to come all at once, and that you're going to come up against a lot of change, a lot of disruption, a lot of frustration, a lot of need to make adjustments and to pivot. And you don't know everything right now. You might feel like you know everything right now, but you're going to have to change your mindset. You're going to have to change direction or change course, at least somewhat, many times throughout this year. So remaining open-minded and remaining flexible is key, but this is really about you rebelling against anything and everything that you've been conditioned to believe that you are not. And so shedding your old skin is a big thing this year. You're going to be feeling, especially at the start of this year, super frustrated with a lot of things in your life, potentially, especially your living situation or your family situation or your upbringing. You might feel really frustrated with what happened in your early childhood experience, and you may be blaming that for where you're at right now. If that's the case, don't just go off and change everything or ditch everything all at once. This is something that's going to take some time, and you're going to have to make some slow, steady adjustments throughout the year to get to where you want to be. And then finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising. For Pisces, this energy is happening in your 12th house. This is major endings for Pisces. You're going to be letting go of so much old karma, so much old baggage, so many old cycles that no longer serve you, and getting in touch with something deeper, getting in touch with your subconscious reality, getting in touch with your creativity, getting in touch with your spirituality, and forming and adhering to brand new spiritual practices based on new exciting ideas that are completely changing your mindset around everything in your life right now. This is a time where you are going through a major cosmic purge to prepare you for the cosmic reset that's going to be coming up in roughly 2.5 years when we have Saturn hitting your ascendant. So you're letting go of anything in your past life karma, anything in this current lifetime that no longer serves you. And this could potentially throw you into a period of isolation this year or into the next couple of years that is going to feel really frustrating for you, but it's going to be very eye-opening and it's going to be very awakening for you. It's going to awaken a new level of understanding, a new level of consciousness through that period of introspection that for a lot of you, you might be experiencing at least for a brief moment in time, at least for like a several month period during this next couple of years. So big energy for Pisces when it comes to releasing the old. This is more about letting go than starting something brand new. Although your perception of reality will certainly change as a result of this energy. And so that's my forecast for all 12 signs. And so for next week, we actually are going to be having an activation of some of the eclipse energy that we talked about last week. It's going to be coming back around in a way where it'll be manifested through partnership, through collaboration, through connections with other people. And we're going to be coming back into balance and harmony when it comes to those eclipse themes that I talked about last week and that we talked about really in depth in our discussion in the cosmic community when we did our new moon gathering and intention setting. If you missed that, you can still watch the recording of that. So if you want to join the cosmic community, the link is down in the description below, and you can, attend next month's session because it was super fun and super helpful for me even. And I'm sure a lot of you felt the same. But this is a lunar eclipse energy. So this is going to be an activation point or a manifestation point of the energy that was set in motion last week and maybe even a couple of weeks ago when we had the eclipse in Gemini. And so that's what we'll be discussing next week. And if you want to know more about the astrology that's happening right now in this moment, you can check out these videos up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and share this information with your friends. Share this video with your friends if you feel like this information might be beneficial to them, because this is a big moment in time and I want everybody to be prepared. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you